Hey, welcome to what I learned today. I don't know if I'm actually going to get to do one of these every day, but let's see how it goes. I think it's going to be a fun idea. It'll just be a quick little blurb about something that occurred to me during the day while I was working, a tidbit of information that came to me that might be useful to other people, or something that I learned along the way. And for no particular reason, I thought it would be fun to start with hair. Hair or fur. They say that the brushes don't matter, and that's definitely true, but we'd also be lying if we didn't acknowledge the fact that some brushes do make it easier. And in that regard, I'm going to be using a brush that's literally called Hair, Goro Hair. And I got this from the Oatley Academy. Something that they offer is a selection of brushes that are really nice. And I'll put a link to that in the description. I'm not affiliated with them, but it's just one of the many great places online to get a brush. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make a circle, a sphere. Let's just fill it just random color. And I'm going to paint some hair on this brush or on this sphere. I'm going to think about a light source, maybe that's coming from, this direction-ish. So the thing that I like to think about with hair or fur, I think I should be more specific and say fur. Because hair, like human hair, and the way that hair flows and works that's a whole different animal. The idea of like fur, no pun intended, animal. See, the idea of fur is more, it's a little bit easier to handle in the sense that, the strokes are shorter, the shapes are, a little bit simpler. But anytime you're creating something with texture, it's good to think of it in the same way as a solid form. So even though there's you can see there's lots of scribbling madness, that you might be tempted to treat as individual units. Instead, think about how a sphere is lit, where you're going to have a dark side on one side and you're going to have a light side on the other side. Of course, there's going to be some blending and some mid-ranges and tones and all that different kind of stuff. But just in its most simplest form, light side and dark side. So because the light is coming from this side, this is going to be our light side over here. And I started with sort of like a mid-ish tone, because what you can do from here is go a little bit darker, especially on the side that's going to be turning away from the light. And you can see in my strokes, I'm being a little bit random, but I'm also thinking in terms of, rather than totally all over the place, I'm thinking in terms of a flow that has some kind of undulation and movement and rhythm to it. The patterns aren't just fighting against each other. So on the dark side, things are getting darker. And then on the light side, things will be getting a little bit lighter. Course. And so you can see I'm working my light side into the dark side a little bit, so those little bits of hairs that overlap start creating that texture of something that is fuzzy and furry, and the layers sort of paint themselves. It just starts working out that when you work dark to light, the dark sections underneath look like the shadows of the hairs that are underneath the light ones. And then, it really doesn't take a whole lot to create your highlight. Just take your lightest color and put it in a few select areas. Think about where the light is going to be hitting this thing. And you only need that highlight just in a few sections. And now here I've only used 3 tones and I have a reasonable approximation of something that looks furry. You can obviously, like kind of like work back into it. Like maybe you want to create a section in there where you would then start putting the dark over the light, but then you would come back in with light over that dark, and that can create a little bit more visual interest. But again, those are the things that are you can play with and refine after the fact. But just those 3 tones, boom, you've got the beginning of a great fuzzy furry ball. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more, please like and share on whatever social media platform you found this on. There's going to be a lot more